from A Plus Racing. You asked for this video. I didn't want to do it, but I'm gonna have to. So we've got one of my Miatas here that's got low compression on the number 4 cylinder. It only has 60 pounds. Kind of flutters, doesn't have the power it's supposed to have. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk you through the steps on how to pull the engine out. I'm not gonna do it though, I'm gonna have the kids in my class do it, but what I'm gonna do is a lot of steps. If I was to film this video live for the entire time, it would take a lot of time, all right? So it takes me about 25 minutes to pull the engine out, but I want the kids to pull it out because I want them to get used to doing it. So we'll get the car up in the air, I'll show you exactly what we're gonna take off, we'll stop the video, and then I'll have them take the parts off, and I'll just keep you up to what we're doing, okay? All right, we'll be right back. Okay, step 1, disconnect the battery. Come here, I want you to look at this battery. All right, I want you to notice that I put the positive on this side, on the NBs. And the reason why is because if the positive's over here, if this was to come loose, the positive touches here and it burns up the whole wiring harness. Don't ask me how I know about that, I just do. All right, so I always put the positive over here, so we're gonna go ahead and disconnect the positive, disconnect the battery. We'll probably disconnect the negative first, and then we're gonna put the car up in here, we're gonna start underneath. We'll be right back. Okay, we forgot to take the shifter out. So go ahead and unscrew that shift knob with your hand. Yep, untwist that. And then once you get that off, hand that to Bradley. And then you're going to take those 4 bolts off that hold that shifter boot on. And then once you pull that boot off, there's going to be 3 10mm bolts that hold the shifter to the transmission. You're going to undo those 3 bolts, and then you're going to pull the shifter straight up, okay? And then we'll come back and see what it looks like when you guys got it done. Okay, so we got the shifter off. Go ahead and zoom in down there. And you can see that the 3 bolts are off. They pulled the shifter straight out. That part's done. We're going back underneath the car. All right, we got the car up in the air. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to take these 2 bolts off right here. We're going to leave the exhaust on, but we're going to disconnect it right here. We need to take this PPF bar off, all right? So these 2 bolts have to come out, and they're going to have to come out in a certain way. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. These 2 need to come out, and this one needs to come out, all right? So far I want you to take off this, and I just want you to loosen these up so they're hanging down, and I'll show you the next step on that, okay? Then unplug the speedometer cable, which is right here, and we'll go from there, all right? And we'll be right back. Okay, so we had the students loosen these up, all right? And I didn't take them all the way off. The reason why is because I need to take off a press nut that's on the top of the PPF bar. So all I do is I just take a hammer it up like that, okay? And then it'll just come right out. Watch. And one of these is different than the rest of them. So you just kind of have to remember, there's one of them has a sleeve on it. All right, here we go. Okay, that's what was on top. All right, so I always just put these back together, and then that's going to go in the box. And then it's the same thing with this one. And this one will be different, and it has a sleeve. It's kind of tight. All right, there we go. I got it. Okay, so there's the sleeve on the one that goes in the front. And then again, I thread this on there. Okay, and that part goes in the box. And then we're going to take a couple of screwdrivers and pull this bushing out. I can almost get it by hand. There it goes. All right, I pulled that bushing out. All right, that's going to go in the box. Okay, so now to get the rest of this off, come over here and look. Come on around me. Hold up. Okay, there is a ground wire right here. So we're going to need to take that ground wire off. We're going to need to disconnect this electrical harness from the bar. This one's held on with zip ties, so we'll cut those off to get this free of it. Looks like they're still trying to get the speedometer undone here. So we're going to need to unplug this. the speedometer, and then this bar will pry off and it'll expose the drive shaft. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, so we've got all the bolts undone and we're ready to pull the PPF bar off. So you guys go ahead and pry it off to the side like that. Okay, go on and get in there, Brandon. You're gonna have to kind of, it's a little bit of work to try to weave it all out of there. There you go. Watch out for the falling exhaust. Okay, we're good. Just let it hang. Okay, just let it hang. Okay, and then go ahead and get that bar out of there. And you might need more pry bar back here. Okay, you guys got it. Good. All right, set that off to the side. That little aluminum piece that fell off, just put it in our parts of bolts. That goes on top of the differential. All right, next steps. Okay, so we're pulling the engine out, so we're going to need to take this drive shaft off. So you're going to need to take off these four drive shaft bolts right here, and we're going to have to take those off. And then I've got a plug that we're going to put in the back of this tranny. But, you know, this transmission is no good. I had a problem with it. It's grinding in second. So let's just drain all the fluid out of it, so in case we want to rebuild it. This is an MB. We're going to need to take off this bar right here. So you guys take off these two bolts, They always get ground a little bit from the dragging on the ground. So you might have to, like, hammer a socket on there or file it to a nut again, all right? And then after we get that, we'll unplug these wires here to the backup lights, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, the next step, come in a little bit closer. All right, we got the PPF bar off, we got the drive shaft off. I put an old drive shaft I cut off in here, but we already drained the fluid too because I'm not using this transmission, but I just put it in there so you know that that's what I'm doing. So I'm gonna need to take off this cover right here. So that I can drain the radiator. Yes, I can drain the radiator without taking the cover off because the plug is right here. But it's just going to give me a lot more room to take other stuff off that I need to with this off. I'm also going to take off this motor mount nut right here. There's one on both sides. So I'm going to take those off. And then if Janae can get over here where I'm putting my finger, there's a slave cylinder bolt right here. And then there's another one right above it. Okay, they're 12 millimeters. So we're going to take the slave cylinder off to the side. If you've never taken your engine out before, or the transmission, it may still have a bunch of lines that are being held to the bolts that hold the bell housing on. Usually on mine, we don't ever put those back on, so it won't have them. It's going to make it easier for us to get off. And I think that once we have those things off of here, that we're ready to lower the car and then go to the top. All right, so we'll be right back. Okay, we got everything done on the bottom part of the car. So now we're moving up to the top. This is the way I work it in a class. I have one person on the driver's side, I got one person in the middle, and I got another person on the passenger side. And I'm going to show them what they need to do. So look over my shoulder as I explain. All right, you're going to take this air cleaner off, okay? You're going to unplug these right here, and to take the connectors off, you just push the button, and then it pulls out, okay, like that, all right? Don't break these off. It has like a little arrow in there. Take a straight screwdriver and work it so we don't break these off, okay? I don't want them broken. So you're going to be taking off the air cleaner, all right? You're also going to be undoing the cooler lines right over here, the heater hoses, okay? So we got to pull the engine, and this one does have some gauges, so you might want to undo it from here and then undo that one, and then twist them and pull them off, okay? We've already got the coolant drained out of it, so we should be in good shape with that, all right? So that's going to keep you busy for a while. You're going to go ahead and pull the radiator out by taking these two bolts off here, taking these caps off, and then undoing this hose right here. And then there's going to be a connector once you get this piece off. So you're going to take this off there and there. And you're going to take this off. You can unplug it right here, get this off of the way, and that's going to get you to the electrical connector for the fan. Okay, let's move over here. You got the big job. All right, a lot of work for you. Okay, one, you got to take off the throttle cable. I do not take this off. Try to avoid taking it off because it's an adjustment, and then you screw the adjustment up, and then this pops off while you're racing. It's a pain in the ass. It's still a pain in the ass to get this nut off, but you can do it with a wrench. So you're going to need to take these two off right here, okay? Then you're going to need to take this hose off right here so it has a clamp, okay? And that's going to come off right there. This throttle cable can come out through a slot right here, all right? So you just pull it out of that slot, it's going to come out.
So, and then we're also going to have to do the fuel line and some other stuff over here, but I think that gives you enough right now. So you are this and this, and get the cable off. Okay? All right? Okay. And we'll be back. Okay, they're working pretty hard on it. Let's see how they do. Let's look. All right, so Morgan's got the radiator pretty much loosened up. She's undid the upper radiator hose, but you notice I've got a lot of sensors right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to undo them here, leave all that plugged in, take this hose off and set it off. All of this electrical, every piece of electrical on here is actually going to come out and lay on the windshield when we're done. That's only on the NBs. The NAs aren't like that, okay? The NAs have a connector on the other side that you unplug it and it disconnects from the engine and the electrical stays with the engine. So she's got this disconnected, ready to come off. But we're dealing with this lower radiator hose. Come on, we're look down here. So I can either take the clamp off down there and undo it there. She's doing it right here because this particular car has a one-piece hose. That's the way they sell them now. They used to have, yours might, if it's an older one, you might have a metal tube that goes in here, and I think it bolts to a bracket over here somewhere. So, but this is the newer style where they give you one hose that does the whole thing. So she's right on the way that she's got this undone. All right, and then we went ahead and we've got these disconnected here. He's got the vacuum hose for the brake booster disconnected there, and I see he's got the cable off over there, and he put the bolts back on where they came from. She did the same thing here. I like to see that so that we don't lose all the nuts and bolts that go to it. So she's about ready to pull this thing off. It looks like she's ready to pull the radiator out now. Okay, so the next step is going to be to disconnect this crankshaft positioning sensor right here. We're going to disconnect this, and then we're going to work around and pull this entire harness out all in one piece, and it's going to sit up here. All right, so that's our next step for my front person and my side person. All right. And then I think you are, oh, you got a ground cable, should be right here. So I don't know if you can see where my finger's at. Zoom in. Come on in here. If you look right there, there is a ground wire right there. So we need to undo that ground wire right there. One of the wires is for my, one of the gauges. The other one is grounds the engine out. It's very important that we have that one on there. So you're going to need to take that ground wire off there, okay? All right. Okay, we'll be back in a minute with more. Okay, they're gaining on it. Come, let's see what they did. All right, so we took the electrical harness off. They got it all the way out, going all the way to here. So that's right. The next thing we got to do on this side is disconnect these vacuum lines that come from the charcoal canister. There's one here and there's one here. Disconnect those. We need to undo this bolt right here. This would be a dangerous bolt to undo with the battery still hooked up. So battery's not hooked. We're going to undo that nut right there, take that wire off. Then we have a connector right here on the alternator. We're going to take that off. And then it's going to require a special tool to take off this fuel line. So right here, so I'll show you, I'll go get the tool and then we'll get that disconnected. She's got all of her stuff undone on her side. He's got all his stuff done on his side. The other thing we're going to have to deal with is this hose right here. This is for remote oil pressure. So I'll have them go ahead and disconnect this hose as well. This is our throttle cable, so we'll set that up to the side. And I think we're about ready to put cherry picker on this thing and pull it out. We got to undo some starter wires, but that's pretty easy to do once you get it out a little bit. It's a little harder to get to them right there. So, yeah. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, we're getting it wrapped up. Come in close. I want to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this special tool here to disconnect this fuel line. This car requires a special tool. If you got an NA, that doesn't require that. So I'm going to use this smaller little tube right here that goes underneath the fuel line like that. And then I push up on it and I turn this back and forth and it should just slide right out. There it goes. Okay, just like that. It's got a little clip right here. Undo that. Okay, that fuel line's disconnected. You don't want to break this fuel line, man. One, they're hard to find at the wrecking yard. And two, they're like a major pain in the ass to replace. All right, so we already got our chain hooked up between this tow hook and this tow hook here. And so we're going to bring the cherry picker in, and I think we're ready to pull this thing forward. We'll probably put a floor jack underneath the transmission and jack it up so that this has a little bit more room back there, and it'll make it easier to pull out. So that's kind of our plan. All right, we'll see you in a minute. Jack it up. Okay, as you can see, we're halfway out, but we still got to undo the starter. So take a look down here. I got it lit up. So it's easier to get it when you have it up a little bit. So there's a bolt right where my finger's at right here. Can you zoom in and see my finger? So we need to undo that one. It has the main battery wire on it and our fuse wire right here. So that white wire. So we're going to take that off. We're going to disconnect the exciter wire for the starter. It's just a little push button, and then I just pulled it right off. Okay, so we got that, and I think that is all that's holding this whole thing in. We'll know more as we get it up. So we're going to go ahead and take that off, and then we'll be back getting the rest of it out. Okay, all right, let's start pulling it back. Okay, go up. Make sure we're clear on that side of everything. Keep going. Okay, go ahead. As soon as this clears, start going forward. Okay, let's start going forward. Pull. Keep going. Okay, I see something hooked up over here on the tranny. So we need to undo those two wires right there. Looks like they didn't undo the backup lights. There's a connector down low. There's two white connectors. They have a little button on it. Push the button and then unplug it. Do we got room? Go ahead and take it up a little bit. See if we can get him a little more room on it. Okay. That's good. And then we might need to push the hood open a little. You got any of them undone? Got them? Okay. Looks like that's all undone. Okay. So let's pull back. Okay. Go up.
Oh, wait.
Okay. We're good. Okay. Keep going. Keep going. Go up. Up. Okay, let's pull it. Okay, if you pick it up, we can swing it around. There you go. Okay, pull it back. Keep pulling it. It's out. Now you know how I pull an engine. All right, we're good. Okay. It took 4 periods, but they got it out. Just high school kids. So, you know, they managed to get it. Most of them never pulled the engine out before. They were able to get it. But those are the steps I use. I know many of you have asked me to do a video. It's not an easy one to do, but I hope that this was helpful to you. I hope you subscribe to the channel. I know the kids had a lot of fun pulling the engine out. We're going to rebuild this engine and get it back in here because we got it rented out for SCCA school in 10 days. So we don't have a lot of time to turn around on this car. I'll see you at the racetrack. Bye now.